Good morning, Briony. My name is Emma. Thank you very much for the opportunity to Skype with you. We'd like to begin by asking you about your recent visit to the Ipswich and Brisbane Writers' Festivals. What happens at these festivals?
At the Brisbane Writers' Festival, I was talking to schools and I was talking to adults. And I was also building a dragon, which is a really random thing that I do sometimes, a really big one. And yeah, it's really festival. I was doing a lot of the same, talking to a lot of schools.
Reading your Kamiko trilogy and are very happy with the ending where Kamiko managed to save her family. We have 2 books, and teacher Mrs. Quilly also brought 1 book on her iPad.
Oh, cool.
Can you tell us why you chose to write a trilogy?
I've got them all here too.
Can you tell us why you chose to write a trilogy and why you just didn't put the whole story into 1 book?
Well, the first book, I actually wrote while I was still at university, and so you know how teachers sometimes tell you how much you're allowed to write for an assignment? My teacher said I was allowed 6,000 words, so I wrote a short story, and then that was one. And also because I think they like to have more books this size that aren't too long, just to have a bit of variety. And once we published this book, they said, do you think there's any more to the story that we could do a sequel? And I said, yes, I think there is more to the story, but I don't think it's just 1 more story, I think it's another 2. So that's how it ended up being a trilogy, because I felt I needed another 2 stories to finish telling Kamiko's tale.
Thank you. Hi, Briony. What inspired you to begin writing?
A few different things. I always liked stories and I always liked drawing. But I think it was my teachers at school who were really encouraging when I was in high school, that they said, we think you should be a writer. So that, and also I wrote a letter to one of my favourite authors, who was an author called Tim Winton. I don't know if you guys know the Lockie Leonard series of books. It was a TV show on ABC for a while. But I wrote a letter to him to ask him what he thought about becoming a writer, and he also wrote a letter back to me and was very encouraging. So yeah, all of those things sort of encouraged me to be a writer. You're welcome.
Hi Briony, I'm Nate. How old were you when you started to write novels?
Well, I didn't really start writing books, I guess, until I was probably a teenager to my early 20s when I was in university. Before then, I kept a lot of journals, so kind of like diaries or whatever. Just notebooks like this, where I just write lots of short things. And then eventually I sort of started writing longer and longer things.
Thank you.
On your blog, you mentioned that you went to Bologna, and I just wanted to know what it was like.
Oh, Bologna is amazing. Every year they have the biggest children's book fair in the world, and it's pretty much this huge centre, and all the different countries of the world go and bring all of their latest children's books there. So it's an amazing sight to see all of those books from different countries and all of the illustrations from lots of amazing illustrators from all around the world. And the point of the fair is for countries to show off the books that they have, but also so that they can sell their books to each other, and that's how we get books from other countries, and how Australian books end up getting translated and sold in other countries as well. And as a city, Italy is, Bologna is beautiful. It's where bolognese comes from, and they have amazing gelato, so it's a pretty cool place.
Hi Briony, I'm Grace. I'd like to ask you, does the story of Kimiko relate to you in any way?
Yeah, it does. So the story actually came from, I said I wrote it while I was at university. My teacher at uni asked me to write about a time when I was really afraid when I was a kid. I couldn't actually really think of any good enough stories of my own, but I started thinking about a story that my grandmother told to me about when she was a little girl. And my grandmother was actually called Kimiko, and she actually grew up in Japan during the Second World War. And so the story is a little bit about her and a little bit about the place where she grew up, and then a little bit of it is kind of just me. I was a bit of a serious kind of kid, and I was a bit of a scaredy cat as well. So so it relates to me in lots of ways. And I have to say that Kimiko's little sister, the annoying little sister that ends up in the book, is my little sister.
Really?
She even looks like my little sister. I did that on purpose. Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Thomas, and I was just going to ask, if you had to choose an alternate ending to the Kimiko series, what would it be and why?
I really liked this particular ending that I had after the third book, because I think, for me, I think it was always leading towards sort of all of the secrets sort of coming out and the magic sort of coming back into the world. Series, not with Kimiko as main character, but her sister, that's setting it a couple of years in the future, because I kind of think it would be interesting to see what the world, Kimiko's world would be like now that there are all these new magical creatures in it. So I'm not entirely sure that I have completely finished the series, and so I'm not really sure what the ultimate ending might be.
Could you tell us what that would be like? Or is that classified?
Oh, it's not classified. I just haven't really got there yet. I think for Kimiko's sister, her ending would be that she finally gets to sort of be part of everything, and Kimiko actually starts to trust her and rely on her, and not just find her a pesky little sister. And I also think perhaps it wouldn't be a family secret anymore. I think perhaps all of the dragons and all of the magical creatures would be something that the whole world starts to know about, maybe by the end of the book. I'm not sure how. Something pretty amazing would have to happen, but I haven't come up with it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Dylan. On your website, you mentioned other cool things that you do. What did you make your fabric dragons out, and how did you get your dragons to stick on the wall?
So the fabric dragons, that was a small project that I did with a bunch of kids to come up with some different dragons for the launch of, I think, the second Kimiko and the Dragon book. And we just used all kinds of bits of scrap fabric and stuffing, and mostly because there were kids that were younger than you guys, we used hot glue instead of sewing, because that was a bit tricky. But I do a lot of dragon building, much bigger dragons as well, and it's fun to do things that aren't just writing and illustrating, like building sculptures and crafting as well. And I stuck them on the wall, mostly using, you can get these little things that you can stick pictures onto the wall with. They're like sticky things, and I just use a lot of those, and hooks and things.
Cool, thank you.
Hi, Briony. My name is Julian. We love your line where the dragon, where kids and grown-ups covered in the dragon. How long did it take you to make?
It only took me probably about 3 days to build that dragon. I built it in my parents-in-law's house, in their lounge room.
Hi, my name is Chloe. You are brilliant at both writing and illustrating. Here's my question. Do you prefer writing
or illustrate?
That's a good question. I could never choose between the two of them. I thought that eventually I'd probably start to become better at one or the other, and then that would make up the decision for me whether I was going to be a writer or an illustrator. But it never really happened. They both seemed to be really equal. So I did a creative writing degree and a fine arts degree at university, and then I just decided I was just going to keep doing both. And I really enjoy doing both. They're quite different though. I find writing is very exciting, but it uses a lot of brain power because you're thinking of much more complicated stories. And illustrating is just a lot of fun, and it's very relaxing as well. So I kind of, in my day, I do a little bit of both. When I get really tired and too hard, I go and do some painting and sort of chill out. So yeah, I like both pretty evenly.
Thank you, Briony.
Dylan here again. We really liked your acceptance video for Queensland Literacy Awards and think it's very creative. How do you think up such a way to say that you couldn't make it to the venue?
I made that video especially because that particular award ceremony had actually been fundraised by the people of Brisbane. The government had cut the funding to that particular award, but so many people in the city in Brisbane and in Queensland were really wanting to still have an award. And so I thought, because that was really special, because that was something people went to a lot of effort to keep having, I wanted to go to a lot of effort to say thank you for the award, even though too far away to be able to actually fly back for the ceremony. And so I thought it would be fun. They said to me to film a video of me saying thank you, but I thought I didn't really want to just have my face on a big screen like you guys are watching it now. I would much rather do something more fun. So yeah, so I made a stop motion video with illustrations in Photoshop.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys know so much about me. I think you've researched every aspect of my life.
Hi, my name is Bella, and I would like to ask you a question. We saw on your blog that you pretended to be characters from your Kimiko novels and wrote letters to fans. Did this feel weird?
No, it was really fun. I got those letters while I was still in the UK, living in Scotland, and they were the first letters that I received to the characters from the book instead of to me. And I always try to write back to all letters that are sent to me anyway, but I thought this was a particularly fun chance to write some kind of different letters because they wrote to the characters, so I could have the characters write back. And aside from that, it was also really close to Christmas, and I thought it would be a nice thing for this school, which is a regional school, to receive some interesting letters just before they went home for the holidays.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. My question is that on your blog you had pictures of your experience in the Kimberleys. Did you enjoy Book Week in the Kimberley, and is it different to Book Week in Perth?
Yeah, the Kimberley is amazing. The top part of Western Australia is not a part that I've visited a lot, even though I've always lived in Western Australia. And it's an amazing place. There's a lot of desert, so there's a lot of beautiful red earth and quite like Uluru. There's a lot of amazing rock formations and rivers and everything, and a lot of very interesting communities that live there. So Book Week actually was very much the same as we have here. So the schools there, they dress up for Book Week as book characters, and they have special Book Week assemblies. So the schools are not a lot different from I guess perhaps your school or the school that I went to, except that it's much hotter up there, so a lot more kids don't wear shoes. They don't have to wear shoes to school quite often. So I'm sure you guys like from time to time.
Hi, I'm Oscar. And we celebrated Book Week at school by doing lots of things, including
that we can do when it comes to awards and prizes, that's up to other people if they like our books. But I think every time, and also or an illustrator makes a book, if they put a lot of their heart into it, if they put a lot of work into it, and if it's special to them, usually I find they're the books that end up getting picked up or noted a little bit more. But it's really not up to us for book reads whether our books get picked or not. We just make them and hopefully people like them.
Okay, thank you.
Hi Briony, I'm Grace. What inspired you to write the Red Wheelbarrow picture book?
So the Red Wheelbarrow, it was a couple of things. It didn't actually start out as an idea for a book. It started out as just a series of drawings, which I was doing to try and see if I could tell a story with pictures instead of with words, because I do both writing and illustrating. Sometimes I felt that I was using words where I should be trying to use pictures.
Yeah.
So it was really just a challenge for myself. And also I was remembering what it was like to be that little, and I had a little sister, as I mentioned, and if you do take a look at the book, sometimes I was the bossy older sister, and she was the little sister, and so that's what's in the book. And actually, I've got to forget, there's a picture, I don't know if you can see it, a photograph in the book of my sister and I. And so it was actually remembering in actual events that happened, and also a poem called The Red Wheelbarrow as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Thomas here again. Have you finished your book here in the garden?
Pretty much. I just handed all the final artwork to my publisher last week. Otherwise, I would show you some of the drawings, but I don't have them now. They've got them and they're scanning them. So we've almost finished making that book. They send me back all of the scanned work from the place that scans them, and I get to do all the final little touches. And they've got a graphic designer who's putting the title on the book, which is exciting because they're working out where the words are going to go on the pictures and everything. And yeah, there's not much more to do. We probably will spend a few more weeks doing that, and then it goes to the printers, and it should be out in April next year in the bookstore. So it's a funny thing, because as an artist, I've already finished that book, even though it's not coming out until April, and I've actually started working on a new one. So by the time everyone starts talking about here in the garden, I'll already be working on a new book.
What will that one be called?
Well, the one I'm working on today is called The Play. I'm not sure if that's the title that we're going to keep, but yeah, it's another wordless picture book, but quite different illustrations, quite silly illustrations this time.
Thank you.
Hi Briony. Thank you very much for chatting with us today. We really appreciate the time you've given us. Before you go, could you please give us some advice on how to have a successful career in writing, or how to improve on English?
So I think that it's important to try and as much as possible write about the things that you know about and things that are important to you, because usually you can imagine them better and you get more excited about them. And obviously, you know, if you're excited about what you're writing about, then other people reading your story are going to be excited about it as well. And really just to stick with it and keep practicing, because, you know, I wasn't born good at writing or illustrating. It's something that I learned to do by doing it a lot when I was a kid. So if you guys just keep doing it through primary school and through high school, hopefully you'll end up as an adult who can write and maybe illustrate as well. And then you'll be ready to start writing books and sending them to publishers and hopefully becoming authors or illustrators. are different depending on how many words they have or how much you sort of struggle with making them. Sometimes they come out really easily and sometimes they're really hard work. Roughly, I would say the Kimiko books took about 6 months of work for me. The Red Wheelbarrow was actually quite a quick book because I didn't spend a lot of time planning it. It just sort of came out really quickly. So I only spent about maybe 2 months on that one. And Here in the Garden, there's another picture book, but that one probably took me about 18 months to make. So they all vary. I've been working on a novel for teenagers for about 3 years. So they all take lots of time and different amounts of time before they're finished.
Thank you.
Hi, Dylan again. Do you have a special room to write all your books?
Yeah, well, you guys can kind of see it in the background now. This is my studio. I've got it facing most of my books because I collect books as well and like to look at them from time to time to see how other people do things. Yeah, but it's quite a big room. I've got a really big drawing desk and a really big desk where I write, and it's in my house. So I don't have very far to travel to go to work each morning, which is quite nice.
Cool. Thank you.
What was the most favourite book you wrote?
I think quite a few for different reasons. I think maybe the last Kimiko and the Dragon book because I knew that it was sort of wrapping up the story, so I could make heaps of really cool things happen. Could be very explosive, and I got to write really exciting endings. Also, the book that I just finished here in Garden because it meant a lot to me, and also because I got to do some new things with the illustrations that I haven't done in a book before. So yeah, I think maybe those two for now, but you like sort of every book that you make for different reasons.
I'm ready. What's the most famous book that you've ever written?
The most famous book, or the book that sort of most popular, do you think? Well, probably the first Kimiko and the Dragon book, but that's because it's been out the longest, so it's had the most time to get noted.
Awesome.
It's also on the curriculum in Queensland, so all primary school kids in that state have to read it at school. Which probably means they hate it because they have to read it. I think that's probably been the most popular one so far.
Do you think that you write any books for adults?
Probably, well, I'm going to say never because who knows how I'll feel in another 10 or 20 years' time, but for now I don't really think so. I kind of feel like I'm just a big kid anyway, so the stories that I write are just the stories that I like writing, and they just happen to be for kids. The closest thing I probably would get to it is writing for teenagers, which I've started doing. But yeah, I much prefer being able to write whatever I want to write about, and sometimes that might include dragons or fairies or things like that. So adults are very welcome to read my books if they want to.
Did you begin illustrating and writing at the same time?
I would say that yes, I probably did. I probably started illustrating a bit younger than I did writing because I was always drawing as a kid during the school holidays, after school. It was something that I always did for fun. Writing I did do in school, but I didn't really start writing just for fun and because I wanted to until I was in high school, and that's when I started keeping a journal and writing a little bit every day in it. So I really would say that I always did both, but I probably spent a bit more time illustrating when I was younger than writing.
We'd all like to come and say hi and wave goodbye to you. Thanks, Briony.
Bye, Briony.
Bye.
Bye.